Well, there is an alarming new report about the Potomac River in the aftermath of that historic sewage spill earlier this year. A national nonprofit conservationist group has named the Potomac River the most endangered river in the country. And joining us now is Pat Calvert. He's the Virginia Director of Conservation for American Rivers, which just released its findings. First, Pat, thank you so much for taking the time to be with us.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
Of course. And first, the biggest factor in this year's report, that massive sewage spill. Talk to us about some of the serious ways that impacted the Potomac River.
Sure. We've made generations of improvements to the health of the Potomac, but 250 million plus gallons of raw sewage leaking into the river can be a very acute challenge to the health of that water. So this could happen in plenty of other communities outside of the DC region nationally. So we're utilizing this as an opportunity to ensure that Congress is supportive of the existing programs that will expire at the end of this year if they're not reauthorized, to help localities like DC and others to ensure that their stormwater or sewage water infrastructure is up to par.
Yeah, tackling that side of things. And, as far as the health of the river, we read all about the bacteria. I mean, just not good for the environment there. You also cite the concern over data centers contributing to pollution. How would some of these proposed new data centers, over 1,000 proposed or in development in the region, according to the Potomac Riverkeeper Network, impact the health of a river, and specifically the Potomac?
Sure. So data centers require enormous amounts of water for cooling and for energy production. And this places tremendous pressure on drinking water supplies that are already stressed by increasing extreme weather, population growth, and toxic contamination. So we're trying to bring transparency and cumulative assessment of the impacts of these data centers that are really permitted at a very local level, but are not looked at as a whole.
Can you provide an example for us of how a data center might directly contribute to some of the pollution in the Potomac?
Sure. So data centers utilize a lot of water, but they also want to ensure that that water, no single data center is like another one. So they may add biocides, forever chemicals, and various other substances to treat that water before it's used for cooling. And we need to ensure that those waters that are being discharged after those processes are free of those contaminants. And then the construction of these sites on contaminated lands could also pose a significant threat to the water quality and the water quantity for the Potomac.
Those contaminants making their way into our rivers. You call rivers life-giving, and through history they have been. People have gone to rivers to live and set up towns, and we need water. But when it comes to these findings, Pat, what are some of the serious impacts to everyday life that I think we all sometimes are guilty of glossing over?
Well, the river supports, internationally renowned recreational wild trout fisheries in the headwaters of the Potomac. And the Potomac provides the East Coast's most significant oyster, blue crab, and striped bass commercial fisheries. It's home to ancestral indigenous communities, sovereign tribal nations, and it serves as the primary source of drinking water for the nation's capital. And is home to more than 6 million people across Maryland, Virginia, West Virginia, PA, and of course DC. I think it's critical that we step up and ensure that both data centers as well as our infrastructure are equipped to we're able to manage these effectively, so that we don't slide back on all the progress that we've made in improving the health of the victim.
Yeah, you talk about managing, and we do want to talk about, oversight moving forward, what that should look like to you. But first, before we started our interview, you said, don't worry, we did see some positives, some silver linings. Can you walk us through some of those, Pat?
A big part of the issue, I would say, with data centers is we really don't know how much water they use. It's typically protected under non-disclosure agreements. So the agencies that are charged with protecting our drinking water supplies, for example, don't even have access in most cases to knowledge of how much water data centers are using. And I would say this, last night, Governor Spanberger in Virginia signed legislation that will require Virginia DEQ to be to receive reports on how much water data centers are using. So we're seeing progress. I think we need fuller transparency, and we need cumulative, like I mentioned earlier, cumulative assessments of how these individual data centers as a whole are impacting water supplies.
And talking now about that oversight, and you say there is progress moving forward to protect our rivers, to protect the Potomac. You know, what should that look like, and what happens in your eyes if it does not develop?
Well, we like to think that it will happen. Anybody interested can check out mostendangeredrivers.org and find out exactly how they can act. But what we need to do is ensure that our members of Congress are reauthorizing the programs that are proven to work to help DC and other communities across the nation to ensure that their sewage water infrastructure are up to par, are repaired and maintained. And then we need to make certain, I think the governors of Maryland and Virginia will need to better ensure that there are cumulative impact assessments prior to approving more data centers.
More collaboration from some of the leadership there. Pat Calvert, Virginia Director of Conservation for American Rivers. Thank you so much for taking the time to be with us here this afternoon.
My pleasure.
All right, we appreciate your time. Well,